Facilitated diffusion is based on a special carrier protein that has a channel so that sugars and amino acids can pass to another part of a membrane. For example, a sugar binds with the carrier protein so that it makes a channel so that the sugar molecule can pass through the channel. And that's facilitated diffusion.
The example of simple diffusion in passive transport that I will show to you is breathing. This is how oxygen diffuses into the blood vessels and carbon dioxide goes to the alveoli, the smallest structure in the respiratory system, without counting its cells. If you don't know the structure of the respiratory system, here's a photo. And how breathing is in simple diffusion, you may ask. Well, it works using the concentration gradient. When cells need or don't need stuff, they open the gates that allow molecules to pass their cell membrane. But here in this example, they use the flow, or more common known, the concentration gradient of molecules, which means that if a higher concentration gradient is outside the cell, they open the gates and the molecules will pass due to the flow.
Okay, active transport is the movement of molecules through the cell membrane from a lower concentration to a higher one, against the direction of the maximum inclination of the concentration requires a cellular energy to achieve these movements by ATP. An example of this active transport is when the human body obtains glucose from the intestines. The cell membrane has mechanisms to incorporate large extracurricular molecules in a mass and is through endocytosis. In this process, the molecules granted by the plasma membrane are incorporated, which when they're closed, they remain inside the cell, specifically in from the vesicles. An example of this endocytosis is how receptors they measure the incorporation of cholesterol in human beings. Therefore, it could be said that endocytosis means the regulation of the interaction of cells as well the incorporation of lipids and proteins of the plasma membrane.
The main function of exocytosis is the release of cellular substances that are contained in a cellular vesicle by fusion of the vesicular membrane with the plasma membrane. These substances will be later released outside the cell and it requires energy since it's part of active transport. An example of this will be a white blood cell ingested by a bacteria.
Hi everyone! Now we're going to explain how the osmosis occurs in the human body. The explain that I am going to use to explain this are the kidneys. Well, I choose the kidneys because are a vital organ of our body, which help us to remove waste and toxic materials. Well, in the kidneys, the osmosis occurs to recover water from waste materials. And in this process, the dialyzer removes waste products from patient's blood through a dialysing membrane and passes them into the dialysis solution tank. The red blood cells, being larger in size, cannot pass through the membrane, and they are retained in the blood. Thus, by the process of osmosis, waste materials are continuously removed from the blood.